Currently, it's an amazing time to be a Chelsea fan right now, as yesterday we picked up another victim this season as we absolutely destroyed Southampton 5-1, not even playing some of our best football. So today, my friends, I'm here to discuss the 5 key things we learned as I'll focus on Joao Felix. Is he our new playmaker? I'll be talking about Maresca, the squad, plus a host of other big things we learned in yesterday's win. Hit that like button, show some love, and let's get straight into things. For the first thing we learned, is Nicholas Jorgensen now ready to fight Robert Sanchez for the number 1 spot? Because yesterday we were all surprised to see Jorgensen starting in goal against Southampton. He made his first Premier League start of the season, and boy did he impress, and boy has he given some food for thought now for Enzo Maresca. Within the first minute of the game, he denied Southampton the opportunity to make it 1-0, and we know goals affect games. They scored the first goal. Who knows how this game ends up at the end, especially as our start was kind of slow for the first 10 to 15 minutes. But it just continues the great form we're seeing currently from Jorgensen. He played a phenomenal game against Heidenheim, making countless saves, more than I'd actually feel comfortable with him making. But on 2 occasions, he denied Paul Vanner from point-blank range, and he did that twice again last night against Southampton. It seems like these point-blank range saves are becoming a bit of a trademark now for Jorgensen, and it shows that he has a great game reading, great reactions. He preempts danger as well, and he has confidence stepping out from his box and engaging danger further up the field. I think currently Jorgensen is doing everything right now to really give something for Maresca to start considering. Does that necessarily mean right now, though, he is ready to become our number 1 keeper? I think we have to calm and tone things down a little bit right now. Let's not forget the sample size of games Jorgensen's playing in. He's the top goalkeeper, and finally he got a start playing in the Premier League. Maresca himself said straight in the post-match interview, Robert Sanchez is my number 1. So this means that if Jorgensen wants that spot, he must outcompete and outperform Robert Sanchez. I think that is the challenge now that has been opened up for Jorgensen. I believe that's the main reason why Maresca wanted to test him out, playing against one of the weakest teams in the Premier League. And I have a sneaking suspicion that we could see Jorgensen slowly getting more opportunities as we get closer now to the second half of the season. I think we need to be fair. We can't place unrealistic expectations and unrealistic pressure, because we don't like the fact that Robert Sanchez doesn't play perfect 10 out of 10 games. So it must mean that we must elevate anything and everything Jorgensen does. Listen, we appreciate the performances. We appreciate the work rate. We appreciate the fact that he is not wasting minutes that he's getting. And we appreciate the fact that he will become a better, stronger goalkeeper for this. And I feel like come the second half of this season, we could be seeing a lot closer, tighter fights now between Sanchez and Jorgensen for that number 1 spot. Now for the second thing we've learned, has Joao Felix now transformed himself as Enzo Maresca's playmaker for the team? Because I felt yesterday he was at his creative best, and as games keep going on this season, it makes sense what Maresca is now after. The right-hand side brings the goal threat, and the left-hand side supports the team with creativity and assists. And I think yesterday, Felix really typified that by playing so many beautiful defense-splitting passes, and honestly, the quality of his final ball and delivery, whether he's playing the pass in the counter-attacking moments or transitional moments or from combination plays, this would make Cesc Fabregas blush. Some of the balls over the top and through the lines that he's playing, it's top stuff. And statistically, yesterday he had 54 touches, 36 out of 39 passes played, 2 big chances made, 1 out of 3 dribbles, but that doesn't paint the full picture because he was fouled 4 times. And one of the best things about Felix is the progressive qualities and abilities that he introduces to the team. Having that specialist 1v1 threat that can command the attention of oppositions, that can win fouls for us, that can push us up the field. That adds a lot to his teammates. But one of the impressive things about him too is how much he's shown a willingness now to embrace the defensive side. 7 out of 10 ground duels won, 2 interceptions, 2 tackles. Conor Gallagher would be proud of defensive numbers like that. Now, I'm going to praise Felix more, but I have to discuss one of the criticisms in his game. And for me, it's the fact that he just doesn't show an ability to finish chances off and finish moves off now. I think yesterday he had 2 big chances. I'm looking at that point blank header, completely unmarked. And instead of just heading it at the near post, he went for the more difficult option and he went for the far post option instead. I've been saying that I feel like with Felix, he takes the most difficult course of action at times. I see this more when it comes to him finishing opportunities and his shooting technique, because for someone that can play these beautiful lofted passes over the top at ease, defense splitting passes for fun, you know, some of the close control, some of the Zidane turns, some of the moves we see from him, I think he needs to add a bit of composure, and I think he has to maybe simplify his shooting technique now, because he can be a massive game changer for us. At the moment, we are seeing his incredible creative presence. We're seeing his playmaking, how he's unlocking teams. But equally, he is a player through his own individual quality. He fashions opportunities for himself, moving inside the box on marks, or most importantly, creating shooting opportunities from his dribbles. But he is not getting these chances on target. 3 chances off target. Honestly, Felix should have scored a goal in yesterday's game. I think for someone of his level, that's the standards we should have for him. But this is where I want to end my point on Felix. Is Maresca accepting the fact that Felix won't be that type of player that can do it all? And instead, is he honing and fine-tuning the creative parts of his game? Because having someone like him against opposition that will kind of reduce spaces, keep their blocks low, he really does add something, especially given the fact that Maresca encourages Felix to roam. I mean, you look at his heat maps, I mean, he's picking up positions on the left side, combining with the fullback, or he's receiving in the channels, or he's moving infield to combine with more teammates. And since he's played, one of the most absolute consistent parts of his game currently is his ability to open teams up and his end products in the final third. That can be a big advantage for us, considering that the left side now brings the support of creative play, and the right-hand side is tasked with finishing moves off. So Joao Felix, he's been a steady Eddie this season. He's done a lot of good things, way more than any negatives, but you still feel to yourself, is there another gear that Felix can now get into as we approach the second half of the season? But the third thing we've learned, we have to talk about Noni Madueke, because yesterday I thought he was the man of the match. He scored a goal, he produced an assist, but then equally, there were many moments for Noni Madueke to add to the score sheet, to increase his tally, and these were moments that he didn't necessarily take with both hands. At the moment, I'm seeing a lot of polarizing conversation around Noni. I think sometimes it borders on too much on the negatives. There's too much hyper focus on poor actions that he makes, and I've never really liked that type of discourse, because you know, it's not a very fair type of discourse, right? Because it only applies to players who are under fire or in the spotlight, and it's not an argument that you use fairly across the board for every type of player. But yesterday, Maresca gave some very interesting words on Madueke, and I have to say instantly, I absolutely loved what Maresca said on Noni. Now, you guys, I'm sure you've seen it for yourselves. I'm going to paraphrase a few quotes, but essentially, Maresca is urging Madueke to push on now. He revealed that against Aston Villa, he didn't play in that game because I didn't like the way he was training and how he applied himself. And he essentially encouraged Noni to push himself. Push yourself in training. Create that standard for yourself. In games, if you score the first goal, get the second, get the third. Get assists for the team. For me, this is the purest example of encouragement that I've seen from the manager this season, and he literally pinpointed the main areas Noni must focus on. But that wasn't all he said. I know that the conversation focused on the criticism parts, but it didn't focus on the other positives and the adulation that Maresca gave him. As he said, Noni is doing great. He's doing fantastic this season. He is probably doing better in terms of numbers than Noni himself even realize. Remember that point, yeah? Because essentially, Maresca is challenging Noni, and he's telling Noni, listen, you're better than what you think you are. You can go to a level that you don't even realize you can get to. Listen to me. I'm your coach. I know what's best for you. I've worked with the players. I've helped them improve their game, fine-tune things, go to the next level. Noni, I am on your side. Listen to me. You work on these focal points, you can become a top player. Because now, this is the time where we have some perspective now. And I'm going to ask you guys directly, Name me 5 wingers under 23 years old in the Premier League right now having a better season than Madueke. Obviously, he's going to frustrate at times. He could have maybe at least guaranteed himself 2 goals in that game last night. But equally at the same time, let's not act like this guy's the finished article. Let's stop these typical conversations where, again, you only focus on the negatives and then you start saying crazy things like he's got no end products, he's selfish, he's this, he's that, when statistically, it just doesn't add up and it don't match. I'm sure none of us expected Noni to have 6-7 goals this season at this stage currently, but the fact that Maresca is verbalizing his criticisms, he is doing that to now directly challenge Madueke. And he is doing that, why? Because he sees a player in this kid and he feels like he can go to a different level. Now, Noni can definitely improve, and I think it's the mentality that Maresca is really touching upon. Go for that second goal. Yeah, you played the pass to Nkunku, but you could have maybe taken that effort for yourself. You know, you could have shown more conviction with shots that you had taken. You must develop that killer mindset, that killer mentality to always want more. One isn't enough. That will take time for Noni to adjust and get there. But for someone that used to play with his head down, overtook touches, overtook decision making, was too long on the ball at times, look at the improvements we've seen in the course of 12 months here, and now tell me that this kid can't find new form or new levels. I mean, the fact that he finds himself in these scoring positions tells you instantly there's potential in this kid. There's potential there. If he wasn't in these scoring situations where he was missing opportunities, it would tell you a different story of, okay, maybe he's a decent player that can be a squad guy, but he might not be anything more than that. Noni is showing small signs of life that he can be one of the top wingers in the country, because the stats kind of speak for itself, man. On FB Ref, you're looking at a perfect, well balance of defensive actions, progressive actions, and of course, offensive shooting actions as well too. Tell me, how many wingers under 23 years old in this league right now are outperforming Noni Madueke? So I feel like it's time for the criticism to kind of balance out. You're right to be critical, but don't reduce this kid's game down to temporary negatives, and don't be blind to the improvements and trajectory that Madueke is currently on. But the fourth thing we learned yesterday was the clearest example of our squad depth shining. Now, we all got surprised by how many rotational options that Maresca turned to. We saw 6-7 changes made in the lineup yesterday, and it was pretty aggressive, but was it necessarily risky? I'm not too sure, because even though we didn't necessarily play our best game of football, we were still way too strong for Southampton. It was reportedly one of the highest away XGs recorded since the data was first collected, so make of that what you want. But it didn't even do full justice to the scoreline in the end, because we hit the post 4 times, we missed some point-blank chances and opportunities too. This probably should have been 7-8 goals minimum. With December being the busiest period of the season, with this month typically being the month where a lot of the good things that we built up to tends to fade away and tends to be nothing in the end. This is the perfect month now for Maresca to have to turn towards using the squad depth and rotational options. I'm going to be respectful. I'm not going to call these guys B team players anymore. The rotational options and players, and for them to score and provide and get goals, that's going to give Maresca a lot of confidence, because he's going to have to turn towards rotating and using the squad, which he's doing very well right now. And his life will be made easier when he can trust the players to perform when he's turning towards them. I mean, Nkunku, again, I thought he was quite unlucky. He's got such phenomenal movement. I don't think his movement gets rewarded enough in the team. I think on a few occasions he would have easily got 2 or maybe 3 goals if he spotted a bit more. At the moment, I don't think we need to sign a striker in January. I keep Nkunku. I think that he's a great player that can play between the lines, attacking mid and up front. He knows how to move. He was constantly running in between Southampton's defenses, kick-starting moves for us, so we can't forget that. On the other hand, we have quality options now to turn to, like Joao Felix, who's now grown into the game and into the team even more now. Defensively, it was interesting seeing Tosin and Disasi playing together. I thought Badia was guaranteed to play on that left-hand side, but even though we had some iffy moments, basically coming from the fact that dominating Southampton aerially inside their books connecting and attacking set pieces. Gusto had the easiest game he will have this season, and in the second half when we had a man advantage, he was allowed to play his normal game, playing as a more marauding, overlapping fullback. And obviously Jorgensen in his first Premier League start shows that he is a capable player at this level and could be getting more minutes and game time as the season goes on. So for me, this is a massive testament towards Maresca's game management, because, you know, to get these squad guys ready now to be viable, important players for us during this month, it can only get there, it can only happen if that was always the plan in place. So that's the fourth thing we learned. And for the final thing we've learned, Enzo Maresca is finally getting his due credit. Yesterday, the away fans finally chanted his name. Oh, Enzo Maresca. And he's come a long way, considering the fact that when he was hired this summer, naturally there was a lot of skepticism, because a lot of that skepticism was actually focused on a lot of people feeling a lack of confidence in the board and the directors for the decision making. Of course, we weren't expecting all these managers to get hired and get fired, and you're thinking to yourself, another season without CL football, it's not looking good for the future, right? So Maresca didn't have it easy from the start to be able to win the fans' affection overnight. But right now, he's proven with his actions, his temperament, his management, his tactics, and all the positives he's brought to us this season, that yes, the fan base can finally get behind him. And I think that was like one of the final keys to the puzzle now that Maresca needed, because if we are going to be this team that can eventually start seriously challenging for the title, you need the fans behind you. They need to feel inspired. They need to feel confidence in your management that we can go into every game wanting to win. The moment a fan base feels like that's a thing of the past or lacks confidence in that, you feel the energy in the stadium. No singing, same old chants, more moans, more groans, and sadly that energy then transfers to the players' performances and the lack of confidence creeps in. We have to avoid that, and we have to get the fans on the side. So I think it's great that Maresca finally had his name sung, and I think it's deserved, because Maresca embodies so many key principles I've seen from managers of old. You know, his decision making is not very easy, and he's making this look very easy right now. So many tactical surprises. You never know what type of system or team you're going to play against. It must make it very tough for the opposition. He goes into games perfectly understanding what needs to be done. His preparation is perfect at the moment. His man management ability to manage the squad, manage egos, manage personalities, and to find that balance has been great. He's been able to work with this board as well, even letting these guys know, listen, if you want to hire me for Pochettino, I need 5 years minimum, otherwise I'm not going to trust it. And he got what was deserved. I can go on, and I'm probably going to make a video dedicated to Maresca this month, so stay tuned. But I just felt like, listen, a lot of the great things we are doing this season really comes down to the ability we are seeing from our new manager. So my friends, with that note, I'm going to wrap things up, keep things moving. Thank you for watching. I'm Noni FC. This is Blue Lions TV. See you all soon. Cool.